Hi, welcome to Being Micah, and thanks for joining me for today's video where I wanted to talk about observing people or people watching or stalking or whatever kids are calling it nowadays. But I think it's such a cool thing, it's one of my favourite things to do, and it's really important for acting as well because you get to observe people, watch people, look at their body language, see the kind of things they're doing, how they react and how they behave in certain situations, and then you can kind of carry that and you can use that as inspiration for a character you're doing or for a project you're doing later on. So where can you observe people? There are loads of different places you can observe people. One of the great places is on your morning commute. If you take the subway or if you take a bus and you have like 20-30 minutes that you're on the subway or bus, you can, I was going to say stare at people, but you can watch people obviously from a safe distance, and you can just kind of see the kind of things they're doing, the way they're standing on the subway, the way they're sitting on the subway, what are they doing on the subway, all that kind of thing. It's such a cool time that you can use to just observe and watch people to do it. Another great place that you can do is like a public park, especially when the weather's nice. You can find a nice bar on a bench or on the grass, or just, I don't know, have a book with you or something to keep you occupied, and you kind of watch people and just kind of see what people are doing, how they're reacting, how they're behaving, how they're talking and sitting, and just generally spending the day with other people. And there's so much you can pick up from like their body language. Other places that you can do it is like pubs and bars when you're out sometimes, and you kind of watch people from there, obviously, you know, from the periphery or just generally when you're just glancing over, you can see people, you know, how they're talking, how they're carrying themselves, and you know, what their thoughts are on that night, or they're excited or they're not. And it's a great place to kind of observe people as well. And again, it's just seeing people, how they behave, how they interact, and how they are with other people and how they react. And that's really useful for acting in general, because when we're doing acting and we're sort of portraying our characters, we're portraying reality. And the great thing is when somebody can kind of watch it and be like, oh my god, you know what, like I've totally done that before, I've totally been there before, and they can see themselves in you, and it's that kind of thing where you're portraying those moments of reality. And observing is obviously a great thing to do that. One of the other places you can observe people, my favourite places, my favourite pastimes, I feel like I'm kind of sad, but it's like in a coffee shop. I love going to different coffee shops. I pick a really cool coffee shop, and I love my cinnamon soy lattes, and I get a nice spot. And if you go into a coffee shop to do it, the best place to do it is if you're sitting at a part of a coffee shop where you can see the rest of the coffee shop, or even if they have like one of those sort of bar stool type areas right near the big windows where you can look outside and like watch everyone. I love that. So a coffee shop is a great place to do it as well. And when you are sort of observing people, the kind of things you can look out for is, you can look out for body language, and body language is so important when you're doing a character because it reveals so much about the person. Now I don't want to go into all the whole psych one-on-one type thing, but generally there is so much you can learn, so much you can pick up from it, and just observing people. So for example, look at the body language. Do they look tense? Do they look relaxed? Do they look confident? How do they kind of look? I remember once when I was in a bookshop and I saw this kind of like guy come in, and he seemed really kind of like, you know, built and worked out, go to the gym, but he's kind of walking around, he kind of had this really sort of like pulling his t-shirt down and things like that, and I kind of thought it revealed to me anyway like a kind of like insecure type thing. But generally when you are observing people, if you're looking at the body language, there's a lot you can tell in terms of the kind of person they are. And then you can even look at the clothes they're wearing. What kind of clothes are they wearing? Are they wearing sports gear? Are they wearing, you know, just like really casual, really relaxed? Are they really formal? Are they smart casual? Or does it look like their day off? And what kind of clothes are they wearing? Sometimes it can be really obvious, and it can be like, you know what, they're a businessman, or you know what, that's really vague as well. But you know, it can reveal like, you know, they're a workman, they work in construction, or they are a student. You can kind of pick up that based on the colours, based on the clothes, based on the kind of things they wear and the style they have. Other times do they have like really, you know, are they really fashion forward, and are they fashion conscious because they're wearing the sort of latest trends that you kind of notice are out there. So there's so much you can pick up on that. And how do they kind of look as well? Do they look happy? Do they look sad? Do they look preoccupied? Does it look really busy and they've got no time to wait or stand? Or, you know, what kind of things are they doing? And how are they sort of behaving, and how are they talking and interacting to other people? One of the great things I love is you're able to kind of get tips for characters in that sense, and body language is a great way to get straight into a character because it kind of gives you that physicality, which kind of then brings you into that emotional state of doing or being in that character. For example, like I remember being on the subway and I saw this one guy who was sitting, he was listening to music, he's kind of leaned forward, just like, you know, just like in his own world, listening to music, or just sitting like that, or like in a, you know, in a hard exterior, just kind of like, wait, just listening to music. I kind of like that as well, and you can use that if you wanted to. Or you kind of have some people who are really fiddly, or they're playing with their thing, or their phone, and other people who are carrying their briefcase and they're kind of holding it like that, or somebody's reading their book like that. There's just so many different things that you can pick up from them, whether it be on the subway or whether it be whatever. And if it's cold, for example, and it's been raining outside, the way they kind of stand, or the way they kind of sit, or they're brushing off the cold, or the rain, the wetness, or they're shaking off their umbrella, there's so much you can pick up. Because when you're acting, the crazy thing is, I know when I did the whole like phone thing, it's being able to use it in a way that we use it in everyday life. But sometimes when you're doing a scene or you're doing something and you almost use it in an artificial way, for example, like, oh, you get out your phone and you're staring at it so long when you're meant to be just looking at a message. But who does that? You kind of look at it, you really look at it, you put it away. That's what you really do. When you shake off some umbrella, you just put it away. But when you're kind of acting or when you're doing it in a scene, sometimes you can go into these unnatural ways of using it. And it's like, well, if you just observe how you yourself behave, how you yourself react, how you yourself kind of work with these kind of things in reality, you can kind of get an idea of how to do it on screen. So the kind of things you can go for are the kind of things that when you're watching and you can kind of observe it, some of the things will be obvious. For example, as I said earlier, the kind of clothes they're wearing, the style they're wearing, or what they're doing, or if it looks like in their hurry, that kind of stuff can be really obvious. But other times, you know what, you can just have a total field trip in your imagination, just like go wild. And like, I remember once getting on the subway in the morning and there's this lady who looked really kind of formal with a nice little coat on, kind of like a really nice small briefcase type thing. And I just like, on that subway commute, I wanted to be outrageous and just think about random things in my head. So I was thinking, you know, she's just totally like, you know, wiped out her husband's joint account that she's got. And she's got, obviously not carrying money, but you're carrying all the important documents, your cards, your things. And she's going to Paris to meet a guy she just met last week on the internet, but they really hit it off. And she's, you know, getting different subway stops, different train stations, different flights to kind of cover her track. But you know what, it's kind of okay because her husband was kind of wanting to do different things. And he didn't really want to tell her either, and he's like got a small sort of frame, and he realised his calling is not accounting, his calling is actually doing ballet, but he's really going to need that money now to kind of put himself through, and when he's pursuing ballet to have that money, which is not going to happen because his wife's all the way in Paris. That was just a random thing that I had in my head that I was just amusing myself with on my morning way to work. I'm probably on their morning way to commute, or you never know, maybe she was just like a teacher at school or something and her car broke down that morning, or it's in the garage and she had to just get the subway to school, or maybe she was just a normal lady going on her way to her morning commute. And that was all in my head. But that's a great thing though. It's using your imagination, using your creativity to kind of build up stories. And again, it can be based on like, you know, the kind of real things you see, the mannerisms, behaviour. Or it can be, as I just said, just, you know, have a field trip. Be outrageous, just use your imagination. Even that might not even be the most outrageous thing that you can think of. You've probably thought of more things much more, like not worse, but you know, more creative things. One of the great things for that is also reading imaginative books or creative books, because it kind of really gets your creative juices flowing, kind of really gets your imagination working, which is great for improv and all that kind of stuff as well. But back to observing people and stalking people from a safe distance. I would definitely recommend doing it, even like as a challenge for this coming week. Go to a coffee shop, go to a public place, watch people, obviously in a nice kind of way. You don't want to go into a coffee shop and be like, hi, do you mind if I sit here? And she's kind of going to be like, there's like 3 or 4 other tables you can sit at. And you know, yeah, you just kind of look like you need the company, but you know, do what you do, I'm just going to observe. She's probably going to slap you, or I don't know, get you arrested or get a restraining order or something like that. So I mean, like, you know, people watch from a safe distance in a semi-controlled environment and observing people, obviously strictly for acting. And personally, like I said, I love it. I really encourage you guys to do it this week. Pick a spot, find a place, and observe people. Write down what you kind of see, interesting things that you know. You can kind of concentrate on looking at a few kind of people, or a couple of people talking and interacting, or even just one person if you can see them for a while. Or you know what, just the first thing that comes into your head, the first person walks by, so as they're walking by, something in your head. You can even do it that way. So that's my really quick kind of video on observing people, and it's not complete or anything like that, but I just wanted to make it a really short video on how easy it is to go observe people, watch people in a public place, look at their body language, what are they wearing, kind of build up stories, guess what they kind of are doing, what they like, and see how they're feeling. And if there's any important things you can pick up, write it down in a notebook, write it down. You can maybe even use that as an idea or to kind of give you inspiration for a character that you're doing later on. So thanks again for joining me for today's video. I'm being Micah, and you be you.